All right, before you take your formative, I'm going to walk through each of the problems that you were supposed to do out of the textbook and help you check your work. So if I start with problem number 33, the question was negative 16 equals 1/2 k minus 7. We're going to start with what's furthest from the variable, which is the plus 7, which means negative 9 equals 1/2 k. And when you are multiplying by a fraction, the opposite is to divide, which is to multiply by the reciprocal. So if I multiply by the reciprocal, I would get negative 18. Excuse me, I missed the 1 there. Negative 18 equals k. And I can check that by taking half of negative 18, which would be a negative 9. And then if I subtract 7, I do get a negative 16. So I know that I would be correct. Number 34 was the next one that I had you look at, which was 20 equals 1/5 m plus 12. So again, furthest from the variable is the positive 12. So I take 12 away, and I get 8 equals 1/5 m. The opposite of multiplying by 1/5 is to divide by 1/5 or multiply by its reciprocal, which would cross-reduce out the fractions, and so I would get 40 equals m. To check it in my calculator, I would find out 1/5 times 40, which is 8. And then if I do 8 plus 12, I get 20, and so I know my answer is correct because it matches the answer up here. 35 was the last one that dealt with a fraction, and 35 was 1/4 of n minus 20 equals negative 1. So I had to get rid of the 20 first, which we were subtracting, so I would add 20 to both sides. So I get 1/4 of n would equal 19. Again, I multiply by the reciprocal when I have a fraction. And so I work out to get n equals whatever 19 times 4 is, which is 76. And to check it now, I would in my calculator do 1/4 times 76 and subtract 20 from it. And if I end up with an answer of negative 1, which I do, then I know that I'm correct. So when you have a fraction, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. All right, from there we moved on to problem number 40, which dealt with combining like terms. So 40 was y minus 7y plus 6 equals 30. I'm going to start by combining the like terms. I have a 1y, and I'm taking away 7, which means I'm at negative 6y plus 6 equals 30. Now I'm going to solve just like I would a two-step equation. So I have negative 6y equals 24. Then when I divide by a negative 6, I get y equals negative 4. Now to check it, I want to make sure that I put it back into this original problem. So in my calculator, I would type negative 4 minus 7 times negative 4 plus 6 and see what I came up with. And that's what I'm typing right now in my calculator to make sure I got it right for you. And I got 30, so I know that I'm correct. Okay. 41. Nope. I'm sorry. 47 was the next one we did. 47 was m minus 5 minus 6m equals 0. Or how about if I backtrack up a second there? I think because that was actually 48. 47 was 8.4 minus 3x minus x equals 2. Or 8.4, here's where it's going to be tricky. You have a negative 3 and a negative 1, which is actually negative 4x equals 2. Don't let the decimal confuse you, because you're going to treat it just like you would any other number. Instead of a positive 8.4, I need a negative 8.4. And then I'm going to left with negative 4x equals whatever 2 minus 8.4 is, which is negative 6.4. The opposite of multiplying by a negative 4 is to divide by a negative 4. And when I divide that by a negative 4, I'm going to get a positive 1.6. And so again, I'd write out my check. I'm going to put it in my calculator as I walk through the check with you, but I would do 8.4 minus 3 times 1.6 minus 1.6. And I got 2, so then I know that I would be correct. Okay? Now let's go back to 48, which was m minus 5 minus 6m equals 0. Again, I think of that as being a 1. So if I'm at 1 and I take away 6, I'm at negative 5m minus 5 equals 0. And I can add 5 to both sides, and I'm just adding 0 to 5, which is still just going to be 5. So when I divide by a negative 5, m is going to equal negative 1. So in my calculator now, I would put negative 1 minus 5 minus 6 times a negative 1. And I got 0, so I know that I'm correct. Make sure on your formative you're writing these checks out. All right, in 49, the problem was 19 equals 3 minus 3d minus 5d. Again, you're going to want to watch the negatives here because you're 3 in the whole, and they take 5 more away, which is negative 8d. I'm going to start with the positive 3, which would be a negative 3. So 16 is going to equal negative 8d. And if I divide by a negative 8, I get negative 2 equals d. And again, to check that, I do 3 minus 3 times negative 2 minus 5 times negative 2. And if I get 19, I know that I'm correct. Okay. Last one was another one equal to 0, which is t plus 4 minus 9t. So if I combine the t and the negative t, I get 0 equals negative 8t plus 4. What's furthest from the variable is the 4, which is being added. So negative 4 equals negative 8t. I'm going to divide by a negative 8. And now be careful when you're doing this one, because a negative 4 divided by a negative 8 is actually 1/2 or 0.5, depending on how you wanted to write it. And you can get a decimal like that as an answer. Don't flip it around and think 2, because if you check 0.5, 0.5 plus 4 minus 9 times 0.5 does equal 0, so I know that I am correct for that one. Hopefully this was a helpful, kind of nice review of this. What you're going to do now for the formative is take out a piece of clean loose leaf, and I want you to show me what you've learned over the last few days. So the first problem that you'll do on the loose leaf will be 2/5 x minus 15 equals negative 5. Once you've solved that one and shown your check, then you're going to go back and do 12 minus x equals 36. And then lastly, the third problem you will do will be 5 plus 3x minus 7x equals 17. You're going to take the last bit of class to solve each of these, showing your work, showing your steps and your check, and then you'll turn it into the sub before you leave so I can take a look at this and see where we're at for when I return. You've got this. Thanks for your hard work this week. Have a great day.